Guys, we are at SommCon2025 in San Diego. Next up, Maurice DiMarino. How you doing, sir?
Great, Raph. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you back. It's actually an honor. As always, we've done a couple of these already, and it goes without saying, I tell you every time, that you are an amazing mentor to me and to many others in this industry. So thank you. I just want to give you your flowers right off the bat.
Thank you.
As always. But so glad to have you here today. You are speaking on a couple different things in so many different categories, as you tend to do. The first one that you were doing was you were speaking on your brain on wine. And I saw some really cool stories that people were posting about the different interactive activities that people were doing. Give us the kind of boiled down points of what you were presenting on in that seminar.
So what it came down to is one day I was doing cocktail development in one of my restaurants, and we're sitting around the table and there's 6 people at the table, and we tasting this cocktail and everybody goes, "Oh, I love that cocktail." And I brought another cocktail and I go, "This is so much more imbalanced. What do you guys think?" They go, "No, it's not that good. I don't really like that." And they go, "What are you talking about? This is like, the one you like is so powerful and out of balance. Why don't you like this one?" And I decided, let's do this. Let me test you guys. And I brought little test strips, PTC strips, which is super taster strips. And I tested on each one of those people. 6 people around the table. 5 of the people at the table were non-tasters. I was the only recessive taster. So that means as a non-taster, you really can't pick out some of the flavors like the bitterness, and you need more things that are intense. So you tend to have things like old fashions and things that are more boozy, more forward and higher ABVs. And most consumers don't like that. What happens is the general population is broken down to 25% super tasters who are overly overwhelmed by bitterness. 25% are non-tasters, can't taste bitterness, and 50% are recessive tasters, which are fine. They can taste bitterness and are happy with it. So if you're doing a cocktail development class or a wine tasting or selecting for your list, and you have the population divided up with, 50% of the people should be recessive tasters, 25% should be non-tasters, and 25% should be super tasters. So that's what I came up with. So the seminar I had done is I tested everybody to see what kind of taster they are. They learned that their genetics determine what kind of taster they are, and they were able to find that out.
And that test is solely based off of your sensitivity to bitterness?
Yeah, it's a PTC. It's a compound. That's the only, there are different elements of bitterness. There's like 30 different types of bitterness we can pick out, or 30 different receptors that we have on our palates for bitterness. But the PTC is the one that determines whether you're a super taster or not. It's the one that can detect poisonous plants and things along those lines. It lets you prolong the species if you're able to pick out those sorts of things. You don't get poisoned.
Oh my God. Okay, so what do you do with that information then if you're a buyer?
So then you realize that why you like certain things, and realize that if you're a super taster or you're a non-taster, that you're only representing 25% of the population. So if you're only representing 25% of the population, don't make your wine list, 75% of what the things you like.
Gotcha. Right? Okay. Yeah. I saw some other cool interactive things. Like people were doing different, colored sunglasses for color perception and seeing how that influences taste maybe?
It all has to come down to that we're human beings are very, very complex. And I went through different examples of how those things change in our lives, and things would happen from intuition to all these different things. And what I was trying to show is that, we don't understand that our environment is really making the decision for us on how we're perceiving flavor. And the green glasses and the red glasses, when you put them on, it changes the perception of flavor. You put on green glasses, the acidity, the bitterness increases. Put on the red glasses, the sweetness and the fruitiness increases.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think, one thing I remember was reading about what was the restaurant? Heston Blumenthal in UK or London. Mm-hmm. I remember reading one time where as part of the service in one of the courses, they would hide like a little mini speaker in one of the seashells that was on the table. Mm-hmm. And so that as you were enjoying this course in a tasting menu, you would hear the sound of the ocean. Mm-hmm. And I remember the person writing that piece was like, people would literally come to tears. Mm-hmm. Not all the time, but it would happen.
It's true.
And I was like, man, that's so sick. First of all, from a service point of view to talk about experiential, teasing the senses and everything that you're doing. And I don't know, when you say all of this, especially the part where how different colors make you perceive certain things, I wonder if that's the future of, experiences, or certainly some people should be dabbling that in much more full immersive experiential dining.
Well, you go into some bars, you go to a Part-Time Lover, you walk in and there's this sense of sage. You walk into the bar. It's that's an experience. And everybody talks about that.
Yeah.
It brings you to a place, a sense
Yeah. I love that. That's so interesting. Okay, there's another thing I wanted to make sure I hit on with you, because this is another thing that I saw a lot of people posting. It seems like it was getting a lot of really good feedback. You were a moderator for the Independent Buyer Roundtable. They were going through all types of things: sourcing, scaling, staying nimble, a lot of different sub-segments from within that panel. But it seemed like people were really buzzing about that. What were some of the main highlights? What were some of the really main takeaways for you from that panel?
I think it was great to moderate that panel because it kicked off SommCon this way that we were all talking together, and everybody had equal voice at the table. Yeah. No matter if you're a single restaurant, multiple restaurants, retailer, whatever it is, we all had input on the same things we're all struggling through, whether it's labor or pricing or new generations and all those sort of things. So it was great to have all these voices come together and sharing their points of view, because everybody walked off with something. Somebody walked off with some knowledge at that table. And there's so much that got discussed. It was a 2-hour roundtable. So we covered a lot of ground there.
I know leading up to this, we had a quick conversation and something that you mentioned to me that you were excited about, because again, you kind of cover so many areas of this industry, but that you had a focus on kind of the training of the new generation, of the new generation that comes through staff-wise in your restaurants. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's tough. It's the hardest thing I'm batting my head with, because it's not that the new generation doesn't care. It's the fact they don't need to. They don't need to put the extra time into coming to a training and sit down and take the time off and sit there for an hour and listen to someone speak to them, because they can get on their phone and they can just look it up. If I need the answer, I look it up on my phone. I'll know it right away. They don't have to memorize it. No one needs to memorize things anymore. Right. Now you have your phone to do that for you. So the issue is, how do you get them to actually take the pride in their jobs and the passion in the industry with the things that they're going to learn? And that's how you tie that in. So what I started doing is I started thinking, how is this generation learning? And I can go on 3 different examples. I'm going to limit to just one for right now, because I know we're going to not be able to hit on time here. But the one thing I started doing was very unique, is I learned how my kids learned. And my kids started learning on YouTube, and they learned their subjects when they saw other people discussing them and debating them out. So they go onto Jubilee and they see different people talking different ideas, and they go to another debate. They're debating this and who can debate something better. And they get so engaged, they actually spend half an hour learning about history. And I realized, well, that's what I can do. So what I started doing, I did the first one just this summer, where I was teaching a class on whiskey. And if that what we can do is, I had a rye whiskey producer, I had a bourbon producer, Irish whiskey producer, and a single malt producer. And they got to stand up and do a debate, kind of like in a podcast style like we're saying here in lounge tables. Yeah. And the team got to watch this kind of like reality TV show thing happening, and they got to debate each other. And they told no holds barred. And as the moderator, I made sure they started poking holes in each other's stories. And so they're like going it out. And so what I had the team do is they were able to vote for the best debater, thinking by the fact which is the best whiskey just by how they described the whiskeys and talked about the whiskeys. And then we blind tasted it, and they got to choose which whiskey that they really like the best without knowing what it was. I love that. Yeah. People left from that stimulated. Yeah. You can do that with wine. You can do it with beer. You can do it anything you want to do. You can do that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
You guys got to use that, all you people out there. Maurice, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. And we have to do a long form version of this here soon.
Let's do it.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph. Cheers.